All right. Shavua Tov, everybody. Welcome to the Motzei Shabbos Shir of Sichos Haran, in which we visit the holy Sichos of Rabbeinu. Sichos Haran is, I would say, probably the most accessible, of all the materials that we have from Rabbeinu. Teres Likutim Haran, and to say nothing is Sipurei Maisius, even Sefer Amides are, when you can understand what you can understand, but you realize that when you look at it, when you learn it, that you're just looking at the surface. Truth is that when you come to Sichos Haran, it's the same reality. It's no different. As Rabbeinu said in Chemo Haran, I think it's written, that he blessed Rabbaran the Rav, the Rav of Breslov, that Rabbeinu said that the people, when he came to Breslov, and he went to the mikveh, and Rabbeinu, when he came out, Rabbeinu told him, you're toiling nice, but I'm going to teach you how to toil even better. He became one of the close Talmidim of Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu said that to the people of Breslov, that they owe a debt of gratitude to the horses that pulled the wagon that brought him to Breslov to become the Rav of Breslov. Okay, so you can understand what kind of a person he was, what a tzaddik he was. And once Rabbeinu was in a good mood, and he told him, I love you very much. And because I do, he said to Rabban the Rav, I bless you that you'll be able to understand my Sichos Chulin in Olam Haba. After, when everybody is able to understand the Torah that they learn, as we'll learn in Hashem Sikha today, we're going to talk about Sichos Chulin, not the Sichos that were written here. It are already Sichos B'inyan Kedusha. But the regular Sichos Chulin, Rabbeinu said there was tremendous secrets in every single Sicha of Rabbeinu. And Rav Nosson writes that mostly the Torahs, many of the Torahs came out of Sichos Chulin, the regular, day-to-day speech of Rabbeinu has tremendous secrets in it. And the Bluzer Kenig's said, it's actually based on what Rabbeinu said. He said that not only that there's never been a Torah or a tefillah that came out of Rabbeinu's mouth that wasn't renewed, that wasn't brand new. It wasn't a process of renewal. It never came from the same place. Rabbeinu said that there wasn't a breath that came out of him without renewal. So you have to understand that when we're speaking about Rabbeinu, we're talking about a person who was dedicated to avoid His Hashem and renewal and striving for the Baruch Hu constantly on a total basis, because I heard Rabbi Yom Tov Glazer, a very smart guy, very, very smart man. And he was saying that how there is like basically two spheres when it comes to a person's behavior, when it comes to a person's decisions, he says one sphere, he calls it the world of commitment, of decision. And he says that when a person decides, as a person picks one possibility, one decision, because of a reason. And if the reasons change, his decision will change. In other words, he's a reasonable person. His decisions are based on reason. So on the other hand, there is the realm of dedication. When a person is dedicated, he is being, quote unquote, unreasonable in a good way. It means the reasons don't make a difference anymore. And because when a person is committed, this is when a person gets Siyata D'Shmaya. You see people that are going to Uman any which way they can. For some, it is like this, for some, it is like that. I know my son is in America, and his friends found a way to get to Uman. And what they do is, because you're allowed to get into Ukraine legally if you're going in for a medical procedure. So what they do is they order in, they schedule, and they pay for a laser vision correction surgery at a clinic in Kiev. They pay $2,000 for this, and they get in, and they just go to Uman. They never dream to have laser surgery in Ukraine. Jews do have this kind of this kind of capacity to be dedicated, to the point that I'm not interested in reasons. There's no, whatever it is, Baruch Hashem, you can afford themselves, they can do it, whatever it is. Baruch Hashem. And he told me they already got in. In other words, it's not like, so he's planning on doing Mitzvah Hashem. He has a tentative flight for tomorrow night. It means that you're committed. If you're committed, committed means also that, Baruch Hashem, we're all married. But the thing is that what happens is that when we are married and we are in decision mode, so it's also something that he said, I find it to be very poignant. He said that, women, Jewish women, Jewish women, being what they are, sometimes feel, a lack of confidence, of self-confidence. So what they do at that time is that, they dig into their husbands. Now, if the husband happens to be in a decision sphere of existence in his marriage, then what he does is either, fight or flight. Either, he starts fighting with her, which obviously makes her feel even less confident, or he runs away. Either he runs away into himself, becoming a puddle on the floor, or he goes to learn, he's going to Mincha for 5 hours, whatever it is that he does, all of which cause her to feel even more unconfident in herself. But if the husband is in a mode of dedication, he realizes, whatever it is, this is what she does, this is what she needs, and he just sits there and he listens. And, it's like and he gets it on the head, like a doof, 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 being hammered into the ground. It's okay. It's okay because you're dedicated. So you listen. You sit there and you listen. Hopefully you don't give advice, because that, of course, makes it even worse. You just listen. And the result is that you have a very, very happy wife. I mean, you'd think you go away and you come back and you have to tiptoe because maybe she's still in that mood. But it's exactly the other way around. She feels that you have somebody dedicated to her. And that's the Segula of Shlom Bayis. It's the same thing that has to do with any kind of decisions that people make, of occupations that people occupy themselves with. And obviously this is especially true about Avodas Hashem. And Rabbeinu says in Torah L'Kutim Haran that dedication is a result of emunah, how much you believe. So being that Rabbeinu has emunah b'shleimus, and he grew up, in a house of the granddaughter of the Baal Shem Tov, with all the biggest tzaddikim of the generation, rooming there when they come to the tziyun of the Baal Shem Tov. And from the age 3, this is where he was running around, the biggest tzaddikim there are. And he heard them talk, and heard age 3, he heard that there's no other times except Avodas Hashem, and that's it. This is when he decided that this is it. Besides the fact that, coming and growing in a, being born in the house of the Baal Shem Tov, in the very room where Baal Shem Tov was known as Avodah. I mean, it's everything is auspicious, should you want to reach incredible things. But nevertheless, it all has to do with dedication. And when you're dedicated, then you get Siyata D'Shmaya. Doesn't matter if it's work, if it's this, it's that, it's just, that's the way it is. So let's just share the screen and see what it is, the screen, not screen, but the screen, and see what it is that Rabbeinu wants us to be dedicated to. Get to Vach Moshe. In Sirach Kov Ches, it says, Ra'ui la'adam, it is fit for a person, Sheyavo v'yelech b'zeh ha'olam, that he should traverse and go through in this world, b'chol ha'sfarim ha'kadoshim, all the holy sfarim, v'lilmot kulam, and he should learn all of them. So he should be in every place. And this is a very peculiar example because the example is supposedly difficult to understand. Like what is the gedula of this Indian? You need to understand that. It says, Kmoshenim says, we find the Sarim Agdolim, the big ministers, the big tycoons, the big Sha'ilchim ve'ovrim b'medinas, that they go from one state to the other. They have private planes, they have yachts, they have whatever. And they spend a lot of money on it. So that only he can boast afterwards that he was in those countries. That like those the important big people, that says their way to boast and say, I was in Warsaw and whatever those towns it was to be. Today I don't know if it's Aruba or whatever those. You can't go anywhere, but it's like this one owns a private island and so forth, whatever. It said this, similarly, it is befitting that a person should be in this world in all the holy places of the Torah. So he should be able to boast in Olam Haba that he was in every place. In other words, all this Sfarim HaKadoshim. And Rabbeinu adds on the la'asis, and in the future, Olam Haba, the world to come, mazkirin oisai kol ma shlamad ba'olam hazeh. They remind him of everything that he learned in this world. They more than just remind him. He understands it. The example that Rabbeinu brings here, it is befitting to think and understand that every single thing that people do in this world, especially something that is important or it's considered popular and is a source of pride to people, even Goyim, is actually a mirror image of a true and real inyan and matter that is b'kedusha l'shamayim. I mean, why would rich people, their status symbol is a plane or a yacht or cars, fancy cars or whatever? It's a thing. It comes to show you that there is an inyan, b'kedusha, of espouse, of glorifying, in being everywhere. But instead of being, in Aruba or whatever, this is being in all the places of the Torah. So you see, this is something that has a real value in Olam Haba. I remember Reb Lezer Shlomo Shik used to tell everybody, just read through all this farm. He said it's less important whether you understand or not. Rabbeinu said just read and connect your mind to whatever it is that you're reading. And he says, and automatically you will understand. And he says, and that which you didn't understand, okay, so you will understand it. You repeat and repeat at the end, you'll understand it. And he says, and that which you will not understand, he says, okay, by Olam Haba you'll understand everything. So every single place of the Torah is a tikkun nefesh. Rabbeinu says in Sefer Amidos that Yedias Torah, knowing the Torah, is that tzlochas nefesh. That's the success of the nefesh. We see, for instance, that there are people who are addicted to sports. They call themselves sports enthusiasts, but what they're addicted to sports. And what's the meaning of sports? When you take a look at it, it's something which is like totally, completely foolish. You take a game of basketball, okay? So somebody's making hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for unique ability to throw a rubber ball through an iron hoop. Wow. Then there are people who are making hundreds of millions of dollars of being able to hit a ball with a piece of wood. Unbelievable. Rabbeinu says that this comes from the fact that, in Kedusha, a person is being challenged with licentious thoughts in his head, and he's supposed to fight them off. And he says that this is the Kedusha, the same kind of Kadosh Baruch Hu has pleasure from the person who is battling against the Yetzer Hara, against these machshavas. He says like people that are, like sports, like people that are fighting. In other words, when you are competing against the machshavas zaros. You are a Kadosh Baruch Hu's team. He's your fan. And sometimes comes a big machshava, a big, thought that shouldn't be, and you stay away from it, and it comes back. And you stay away from it, and it comes back. And no matter where you look, it comes back. Rabbeinu calls it arich ampin beklipa. That a woman can who is a pchinas arich ampin beklipa, wherever he turns his head, he sees it. It's like, and the derech is just to stay away from this. This is the Super Bowl. This is the World Series. The real Super Bowl, the real World Series, in which you win the championship. Except, of course, this is a championship forever. I mean, those guys, professional sportsmen, it's an amazing thing. While they're in the midst of their career, they're bigger than life. They're bigger than life. Somebody meets, a major leaguer during his heyday, when his career is going on, you can't even come close to them, man. It's like God's love. It's just like the idols. They're literally idols. It's an amazing thing. The minute that they retire, they become nobodies. They lose their aura of this bigger than life aura practically on the spot. Not only with the audience, but with the guys that you used to play with. Once they retire, they can't even, you know, they're not even interesting for their own previous teammates who are still playing to speak with. I mean, they're not, no, nothing, nothing what to talk about. But while they're playing, it's like, whoa, it's like bigger than life. They're the kings of a universe, which is probably the best marshal if anybody wants to understand. You know, there's an olam haba. When a person watches a game, reality, regular reality is as it is at all times, just disappears. You're in the game. You are in a different reality. Totally. It's a reality that has its own rules, that has its own intricacies. You understand that over here is a chachma, and here is a pitcher that threw a slurve, you know, outside of the strike zone, and this guy who has the IQ of a used slipper swung his bat and hit the ball to Timbuktu, you know. And it was ninth inning, 2 down, 2 on, 2 outs, 2 strikes on, you know. And this dumbbell swung the ball, you know, at the ball and hit it out of the ball. It is out of here. It is gone. It is gone. It is gone. You are in a different universe. The same thing applies to your inside your head when you have machshavas. When you can, like, I don't know, go in the street and sit and look, just not even looking b'chavana, just turning your head, and you got something stuck, a sight which is stuck in your head, you know, just like the worst possible thing, boom. And not only that, it's not that the thing that you look at it, that you're looking for it, you just turn your head and boom, it goes into your head. And not that it goes into your head, it goes into your mind and it leaves an indelible print in your mind and sending you, making you nuts. That's the slurve, you know? What? And you're supposed to swing and hit it out of the ballpark. In other words, you're supposed to move it away from your hand. And you understand the dedication that they put in to be able to hit a real ball with a piece of wood. You know, or throw a pigskin, you know, funny looking orb. And people are hitting each other and causing each other concussions and whatever. But over here we can say that the different parts of the Torah are the different colors of the Torah. Because the Torah itself is Midas Atiferes, which is Midas Yaakov. Then Emes Yaakov. These are different illuminations of the Torah. You know, we have 13 Midas Shatorim Dreshen B'hem. We just spoke about in the Sichos Haran last Thursday. We didn't actually get into it. It's a shame. Hopefully this Thursday. We'll see if we'll talk about this or we'll talk about Shoshana. But that the 13 midos, the 13 codes that the Torah being darshan. So the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, we didn't need it. Because you had the question, you go to Moshe Rabbeinu, you ask him, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. You know exactly what to do. But when Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, So 300 halachas were forgotten. So 3,000 halachas, depends where you're taking your information from. They forgot either 300 or 3,000 halachas. So they went to the Zakenim, they went to the sages, and they asked them, what are the halachas about these things? And they say, we don't know, because of the Evel, because of the mourning on Moshe Rabbeinu, we forgot. So they went to Yeshua, and they asked him what the halachas are, and he also forgot because of the mourning of Moshe Rabbeinu. 30 days, the mourning of Moshe Rabbeinu, he forgot these halachas. So Yeshua said what to do. So he says, go engage them in war, so they won't. As we learn in Torah Chaf and Kutam Haran, when Torah is forgotten, when Torah is clogged, the neshama, that's the source of the Torah, passes away, the people start rioting against the tzaddikim. Well, it says, get them busy with the war. So Atniel ben Knaz retrieved those halachas with his pilpul. He was able to retrieve it. Why? He used these 13 midas that the Torah is being dashed. These are codes that you feed, the regular Torah, the psukim of the Torah. You can't know halacha from it. But there are 13 codes that if you feed the pasuk just the way it is to this computer, and this code computes the different content of the pasuk according to those ways, you can, if you know how to do it, you get the halacha out of it. This is what Atniel ben Knaz did before the Moshe Rabbeinu, couldn't do it, and this is where it's done. This is how it's done. And from that time on, you see the Gemara many times that you see that each Tana, each Talmid Chacham, whatever it is, of those the great Tanaim, the Maraim, they learned they had their own specific. These 13 codes were their own specific gates with which they understood and dashed the Torah. For instance, when we talk about klal, uprat, uklal. And there is another way of ribui and mute, which means plurality and singularity. When you have everything that you have in your field, that will be a klal. And you say, let's say apples, that'll be a prat. And then you have whatever it is you want to eat, it's a klal. So you have klal, prat, klal. So there is what you learn from it is that klal, anybody will learn klal, prat, klal, so they learn that the entire klal is, let's say, that it's allowed or disallowed. And the prat says just a little thing that is disallowed. But whoever learns according to Ribui V'Miyut, plural and singular, they learn that it's only the only things that typify that specific thing, apples, whatever it is, different kind of apples or whatever it is, these are the things that the klal allows. So one type of drush is just a little meal, just a little, okay, this is one little thing that is disallowed. Or one little thing which is allowed, depends on what the thing is. But if they learn Ribu and Miyut, this is no, the whole thing is just, so is the last klal which says most everything is okay? No, it's the first one. So in other words, Everything is either allowed or disallowed except little. So everyone, it's a Shorsh and Shama. This is a whole understanding of the entire Torah through these 13 midas Torah addresses by him. Every single sefer in the Torah Kedoshim, especially, in the Zohar Kodesh, Kisra Arizal, they'll say, well, you don't want to, what are you talking to me about Kisra Arizal? What do I understand Kisra Arizal? I don't understand, I hardly understand Hebrew. What are you talking about Kisra Arizal? Go through it. And in the next Sicha, Rabbeinu says you should learn Poiskim. He says more than anything, you should go through Shulchan Aruch again. This is like the claim to fame of being a Breslover. That's one of the two things that Rabbeinu said that, of being a Breslover, is dependent on two things. One of them is making his readiness, and the other one is learning halacha every single day. Learn Shulchan Aruch every day. So he says here, Lima Poiskim is the most important limit of them all. I want to tell you personally, I'm learning, I have a booklet that I'm learning every week. It's like a Chok L'Yisrael, it's called Otzos Yehudim. And there is little portions, a few minutes, of every single limud. There's a little portion here. I cannot do any more because I'm a walking, talking ADD. So I can only do a few minutes per thing. I learned Shulchan Aruch. Now it's Choshen Mishpat. Baruch Hashem, we have Mishnah Berurah. Baruch Hashem, we have, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of Choshen Mishpat. It's a closed book. Literally, it's a closed book. You read it. The language is very difficult. It's extremely difficult to ascertain what the Shulchan Aruch is saying altogether. Forget about what the halacha is. In other words, with the arguments of the Rishonim, the Achronim, whatever it is that they drive out of it. But nevertheless, the lashon of the Torah, that you're going through it, this is your shlemus nefesh. I from Revel Chashin Zechat Tzaddik V'Kodesh L'Bracha. It said that Rav Mordechai Sharabi, the head of the Mekabalim in his time, said that anybody who does not go through Shulchan Aruch in one way or another has to come back, has to be incarnated again. Because every single halacha of the Torah is a part of your nefesh, is a part of your atzlacha, is a part of your... So Rabbeinu says, go visit all this firm. And this is what Rav Shik, Zichron Levracha, told me, that the secret of being Mekayim this particular Sicha, of visiting every place, in other words, all this Sfarim of the Torah. If you want to learn all this Sfarim of the Torah, you take a look at your Sfarim shrunk, you go, how will I ever do this? So what you do is you open up a Sefer and you take a look and you read and then you close it up. Okay, let's say 3, 4, 5 months later, says, okay, I'll open up the Sefer. Where you begin? You begin the beginning again. What can you do? So he said the secret of visiting all the places in the Torah is a bookmark. Take out a Sefer. Read whatever you do. And when you're done, as much as you can, just put the bookmark in it and close the Sefer, back in the room. You ought to take another Sefer. Again, read whatever it is. Where you're holding, put a bookmark, close the Sefer, put it away. The next time you open the Sefer, you're starting from where you finished, where you stopped the day before. That's the way, that way you're able to go through all this from the term. I had an acquaintance in Borough Park who was I think probably the only surgeon in the hospital where he worked, I think, with a very, very long beard. I don't know how he covered his beard, to perform surgeries. So I told him this particular Eitzah, and he told me later, he says, this is an Eitzah that resides in the highest places in the Shemayim. This Eitzah. This is an unbelievable Eitzah. Now, what is it? This is bookmark. But ultimately, what we really need to do in order to be able to visit all the places of the Torah, of doing whatever it is that we need to do in order to fix, to do, to succeed, is, as Robert Glazer says, get out of the mode of decision into the mode of dedication. Be dedicated. It takes a lot of davening. You have to ask Kadosh Baruch Hu, to move you. Because it's very common for a person that when it comes to things that Yetzer Hara has managed to put on the optional list, to be in a mode of decision. If I have the time, I'll learn. If not, then if I'll feel like davening, with koyach, then I will. But if I don't, it's a decision mode. You have to ask Kadosh Baruch Hu to help you to put it in dedication mode. And personally, I find the most invigorating promise about this thing is that when you get into dedication mode, you get siyata d'shmaya. I mean, if you are wishy-washy, your wife won't accept it, because Baruch Hu won't accept it. They don't want that. And your children won't accept it either. That's the reason, when young people today, they meet, so they're all in a decision sphere. So they never really decide. It's all upon a reason. If I feel good, then it's yes. If I don't feel good, then it's no. Whatever it is. After the people, in the Hasidic world, by and large, they come to meet, and they meet, for 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. I mean, my son, before he met his wife, he met her for the first time. He met her once, and he already told me that this is it. He just met her one more time again, and this is it for both of them. Finished. They're married, they have everything else. How did it happen? It happened because they both came in dedicated. They're not fooling around. They didn't go to say, I'll see. I don't know if I like that. I don't like her. This, got that, whatever it is. And nothing. So if you come in dedicated, it gets you out of the Shmaya. Obviously, things do happen. You cannot know the cheshbon of Kadosh Baruch Hu. Nevertheless, dedication is the name of the game. When you go dedicated, which means if I'm going to succeed or if I'm not going to succeed, it's neither here nor there. And he actually told a story that I heard, that's the last thing that I heard about this. He says that the most precious commodity of a person is his word. And he says that one of the guys that learn there's a course that he does, a workshop, it's called the Possible You that he does. Now this is some of the things that they're working on. This guy happens to be a very wealthy businessman from Yerushalayim. They went to America for 5 weeks. 5 weeks without his wife, without his children. It's a long time. And he told his wife that he's going to be home for a specific Shabbos. And there he was in a convention in Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas airport, anybody who had the misfortune of being there, is a very hectic place, because if everybody comes out of the conventions at the same time, the airport gets clogged up completely. So he had a flight, he had to go to LA to catch a nonstop flight from LA to Tel Aviv and get home for Shabbos. And he missed his connecting flight from Vegas to LA. Now, if there was ever a sensible, reasonable occasion to he picked up the phone to call his wife to tell her, I won't be able to be home for Shabbos. I missed my flight. But as he picked up the phone, he remembered that he gave her his word. So instead of calling her, he punched in Fast Jet. It turns out that there's a company called Fast Jet, which is a private plane company. So he called him up and he asked him, do you have a plane in Vegas right now? And he says, yes, we do. He says, can you take me to LA? So this says, yes, we do. Yes, we can. So he says, where are you? There's a certain terminal, whatever it is. He says, I have to catch a flight from LAX to this. So he ran to this terminal. They asked him, do you want to know how much it's going to cost? He said, no. And he went there and he went on this private plane and he went to LA, and the pilots already spoke to the tower, which already spoke to the company, whatever it is. They made that flight wait for 20 minutes for him. Actually didn't go into the terminal. He went to the tarmac and went all those steps, where they put all the suitcases on, whatever they put on. He got into the flight and he got home. Later on, he found out that keeping his word cost him $7,000. And 2 weeks later, he was in finance. 2 weeks later, he got they turned to him from I don't know who, what body it is that turned to him, because the money changers in Israel were doing all kinds of shenanigans, and the guys in America were getting sick of it. So they asked him if he wants to handle, the clearance of all the money that comes from the money changers. So basically half the money gets cleared in America will go through him. So he just started a new company just for that, 2 weeks. Why? Because he has a word. Because he keeps to his word. Because he's a dedicated person. He's not a reasonable person. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should understand that this is what we need to do. B'ezrat Hashem, in a week, it's Rosh Hashanah, B'ezrat Hashem. Those of us who will be zeichet to be in Uman, Asher Chelkam. Those of us who will not be zeichet to be in Uman will be in Uman wherever it is that they are. And remember, the name of the game is Emunah, that produces dedication. With dedication, you go through the entire Sfarim. With dedication, you can overcome everything. Hashem should help us, B'ezrat Hashem. Should all be zeichet to a ksiv v'chsiv tova. Tonight is the first night of Slichos. I wish all of you, again, as I said, Shana Tova, a lot of blessings, health and wealth, and everything that comes along together with it. Mitzvah Hashem, we will meet Monday night, Super Amasis. And until then, keep in mind, Shlomo Moshe ben Pearl, he needs his tefillos. He's in the hospital now. He was taken to the hospital on Friday night by Magen Avidadon. And so he needs our tefillos. So kol tov, and thank you very much for spending your time with me. I appreciate that. Shkoyach.